So use your imagination. Tractor on the front. This will go like 100 horsepower up to we've had a 300 horsepower tractor. It's not heavy. It's run on hydraulics. So basically, hydraulic pipes are turning two motors inside here, which are then turning the mechanisms. Now, they don't look much, but what they're doing is, if you want to come round, you can see it better. You can see these blue bits here, these are belts. And these arms here pull these belts up, which then actually internally pulls the willow down. The willow will go down there, and you might want to have a look in a minute, but down the bottom here is what we call the cigar cutters. It's basically the hole in the middle, and then they cut the willow, and they cut the willow at 20 centimeters, so about that length. So remember I said we plant 15,000 per hectare, so we're planting 15,000 of these cuttings per hectare. Now what's really clever about this is, well yeah, it's cut it, but then what? What happens is this mechanism actually moves back, and then behind it there's a plunger that pushes the cutting into the ground. And that's what makes it so efficient. We can literally, this can be planting, I think up to about 10 trees per 5 seconds, something like that. So that's where we're getting a 15,000 in roughly an hour, hour and a half. And when you saw in the field, I told you about the spacing. So spacing comes from basically where these two planters are. That's 80 centimeters apart, so that gets you your double row. And then you've got your 1.5 meters, and then your next spacing. I don't know if you want to come a bit closer, but this was obviously growing in the field where we were before. All I've done is I've pulled the leaves off it. In a month's time, the leaves will fall off. If you come and have a look, can you see these little buds here? So that's where your leaves and branches will start coming from. And all of these little bits here, these little nodules, this is where the roots will come. So if we cut that there, that goes in the ground. Once the temperature's right and the moisture levels are right, it'll start firing roots out of all these little nodules here, and then your branches will start growing out here.
So you just use that all the way up though?
So that's the point. So basically up to about, can you see where this kind of nodules stop about there? So you could use all of that rod. So potentially that rod there, one stem, will produce about 12 plants. And I've cut one off, and there were 3 of these on that one cutting that we put in the ground 5 months ago. So you can see kind of how the scale of how it multiplies the volume so quickly. So from a cutting that size 3 months or 5 months ago, we have got 3 of these, so 12 times 3, 36 cuttings off one cutting in 5.
Did you have much, well, one, can you alter the lead that goes in that's cut? So you're saying 20 centimeters, then you alter that to less or more?
We can
And if you can, is there a reason why you would?
Yes. So there are parameters, so the maximum is 20 centimeters. It will go down to about 12 centimeters. When I started planting about, I don't know, 10 to 12 years ago, we used to plant, we had an older planter and it was set at 17 centimeters. And I think that was to get more cuttings per rod. I'm all about trying to get the best establishment, because this crop's going to be around for a long period of time. So I just thought, giving that extra inch, 3 centimeters, just giving it that little bit more energy, potentially another bud where it could actually shoot some more leaves. So it's just optimizing. There is another willow plant called a energy plant, which is designed in Denmark, and they do it slightly differently. They cut it, and then basically they have a leg which opens the ground up, basically fire the cutting into the ground, close it up. I just don't think it works very well in the UK climate, particularly heavier land, because you know what, you put a leg through the ground, yeah, it's fine, then you get a drought, basically it just opens up again. But with the advantage of those is you could put 40 centimetre cuttings in, and obviously if you're putting 40 centimetre in, you've got a lot more energy, it's a bit higher up, so it's going to potentially give it outcompete grasses. But the disadvantage is it's going to be more expensive to plant it, and there's a likelihood that the could open up again.
So yeah, 20 is a good happy medium.
That's that's the conclusion I've come to, yeah. And then the spacing, remember I said 60 centimetres in between each cutting. We can adjust that by either going faster or slower, or turning the hydraulics, the pump down, turn the oil going through. So we can adjust it in a number of ways. Yeah, there's been quite well. Physically, for this planter, I would say 20 centimetres is about the maximum that can fit down there. And then minimum, as you can see here, once you get to about this point here, you don't really have much nodules for rooting, and you potentially get your catkins up here. So I would say 8, but there has actually been some research done.
Sorry, the diameter.
20 centimetres.
No, the diameter. The diameter of this.
Sorry, 20 mil.
Yeah. Oh, you say 20 centimetres, I'm like...
20 mil, sorry.
Yeah.
Between 20 and 8 mil. But there has been some research done, and what they found was that the bigger diameter, the 20 centimetre diameter cuttings, they will always outperform throughout the whole life of the crop. They always did better than, say, your 8 centimetre cutting. I think the sweet spot is around about 12 to 15 centimetres above, and then you kind of get the right return on your investment. So these cages will basically be full of rods, minus that bit there. And we've got a couple of people in the back. This is all they're doing is finking these in. And once that's gone, put another one in. It can be an okay job for a while, but after a week or two you get a bit bored of it. One of the projects that was alluded to in BioMass Connect, I'm a Lot 1 project, so I've been funded by the government to develop new technology. So we're building robots at the moment. So when this industry scales up, we want to come up with a better way of planting. So at the moment we're planting maybe 100 hectares a year to do with this kind of equipment. To say the government's got aspirations of 1,000, 5,000. We're just not going to do it. I've struggled with labour and so we're looking at developing robots that literally do it all themselves. Be one operator, potentially have 3 or 4 robots in one place. So that's the direction it's going. That's the way the government is funding it.
Sorry, which government? UK or Scottish?
UK at the moment, but it will benefit.
Presumably affects which institute are looking at for robots.
Yes, but I suppose the difference is we're up in Carlisle, so we plant in the UK, in Scotland and England. So that equipment will be utilised wherever it was required.
Just got to get a check out for the vegetarian this year.
No, fine, go for it. Any other questions?
You say you plant 1,000 hectares a year. Is that just with one of these?
We don't. We plant
No.
about 100. The aspiration is to make 100.
I'm just gauging how much can you plant a year?
Yeah, so I would say in a good year, with a bit of stress and headaches, we've planted about 150 hectares per machine, and I wouldn't really want to be doing any more than that with these machines. That's why we're looking at other technology to help.
And normal planting season, just like, or does it
Yeah,
extend?
I mean, again, it depends on the types of land. So traditionally, the type of land that willow gets planted on is usually wetter land. So ideally, you want to be planting in April. But real world, we're probably planting in June or even July when those types of lands are dried out enough that we can actually work the land.
I think about how the labour spread as well.
And then you're into silage season, and it's just because we haven't got enough work to whole year round. We have to be doing other agricultural jobs as well. So there's always a balancing act between silage and combine and everything else.
Colleagues at Rockwell said it led that, and so I basically planting plots in March, April, May, right through to September. It was only planted last spring, but we're seeing that April, May, June are good. July at some sites is good, August, September are awful. So it does.
I would say I was thinking, in my mind, July is a cut-off. We have done something in August and we got away with it. As soon as you get to September, forget it. It doesn't work. It's not enough light in the day.
So how long do the rods, when you've cut them, how long can you store them before you kind of plant them?
So we produce these rods when the leaves have fallen off, so and everything's still nested. So usually we probably start in December, early January, depending on the year, and then we put them in the freezer. Basically, we freeze them at -4. We don't go down to -18 because then you start to damage the material. But at -4, it's keeping the moisture in, it's stopping them from growing, and then we pull them out the freezer a couple of days before we plant, whether it's in April or July.
Would they not keep if they're just in a kind of dark, dry room rather than a freezer?
What I've done, they work with light, moisture, and temperature. So, but what I have done in the early days before I got big freezers is I put them in an old stone barn. Kind of had like a sandstone floor, a bit of moisture, and we basically covered them with hay bales. And that seemed to insulate them enough to stop them from going. But you can do it on a small scale, but a large scale is tricky. So we know the right temperature, and we know how long to hold them. I've actually experimented and frozen one for like a whole year and tried to plant next year, and they kind of grow, but they don't really grow. So they have got a shelf life. Anything else? Are you onto this platform now, Brian?
Actually, while everybody's here,